on editions of NXT. The only issue that I have with Summer Rae now is she's not wrestling on editions of Raw and SmackDown, and she's continuously just in the corner of someone like Fandango. At least now she's in a consistent role. I will give her the benefit of the doubt as a Fandango girl, because so many divas in the WWE want an opportunity to be a Fandango girl, like Audrey Marie has wanted that opportunity for a number of months now, being a part of Total Divas. She said that she could be a Fandango girl if given the opportunity. I don't know if she would be as effective of a Fandango girl as what Summer Rae's been over the past number of months. Obviously, a number of girls want this role, so I often wonder if Summer Rae is actually content in this role and has no desire to compete as of right now in the Divas division on Raw and SmackDown, because she's competing all the time and competing for the Women's Championship on NXT every Wednesday down in Florida. And because she's actually competing for the Divas Championship on NXT, or the Women's Championship, whatever you want to call it, maybe she has no desire of wrestling on editions of Raw and SmackDown. But I think sooner or later she's going to have to start wrestling, because everything about her just stands out. Even her ring attire and the presentation of her character, not taking anything away from her wrestling ability, even her ring attire and the presentation of her character and the way she can cut a promo is 100% grade A quality. And I think that how she wrestles is awesome. If you haven't seen a Summer Rae match, I do urge you to go to YouTube and pull up some matches that she's had, either matches that haven't been for the Women's or Divas Championship on NXT, or matches that have been for the Women's or Divas Championship on NXT, and that will give you a little bit of a different perception on how good of a wrestler Summer Rae is. A couple of months ago, I saw a match between herself and Paige for the Women's Championship, and it was just an incredible match, and Summer Rae came close on a number of occasions during that match to becoming the Women's Champion. It's beyond me why she didn't win that match that she had with Paige. Maybe it's because Paige, of course, has a great gimmick going for her, and her ability to be a pure wrestler is outstanding. So that's why Paige has been on top of the women's division on NXT as long as she has been. I know Dusty Rhodes is a huge fan of the women down there and a huge fan of Paige, so maybe that's why her reign's been as long as it has been as women's champion for NXT. But if there ever was a substitution for Paige, or someone to get a WWE call-up to Raw and SmackDown, it has to be Summer Rae. She did get a call-up for Raw and SmackDown quicker than what Paige did, but the thing is, Paige is a great wrestler, and it's beyond me why Paige isn't wrestling on Raw and SmackDown as of right now. And Summer Rae is just as good of a wrestler, and it's beyond me why also, the same thing can be said about Summer Rae, why isn't she wrestling on editions of Raw and SmackDown? AJ versus Summer Rae for the Divas Championship needs to happen at some point. I wouldn't care when or where we would see it, or under what circumstances this match would take place. But the reason why I say AJ versus Summer Rae needs to happen is because there are so many divas who possess the same one or two qualities that get them to the dance in the WWE and eventually land them a Divas or Women's Championship back many years ago. Very rarely do we see someone who comes along that has all the qualities of a Trish Stratus or a Stacy Keibler, and I think that divas like AJ and Summer Rae are the first two divas of maybe 50 or 60 divas who have either gotten contracts with the WWE or tried it over the past 5 to 6 years, who have come along that have the same kind of qualities that a Trish Stratus or a Stacy Keibler have, and it's very rarely that I put over some of the new television divas in that regard. You know, I put over AJ and Caitlyn about a year and a half ago as top divas in the WWE, and as a result, in 2013, they had an incredible series of matches for the Divas Championship, and we could be seeing just as many incredible matches between Summer Rae and AJ, with Summer Rae as the fan favorite. And I say this about Summer Rae because you look at some of the crowd reactions she gets either for television tapings, or house shows, and you kind of put that in perspective of having her be a consistent in-ring performer every week for the Divas division, and she would be the top diva in the division, and there would be a high demand to have her be the Divas champion. If she's not Divas champion by 2015, 2016, I'm going to be really pissed off, because that's one diva that I've really been following and making a habit of following. I've been monitoring her fan responses. I've been monitoring how good of a performer she's getting every week on NXT, and if there's one reason why you should watch NXT every Wednesday on WWE.com, it's because of Summer Rae. There's really no other reason why you should watch NXT. Yes, you have an incredible amount of male wrestlers and talent on NXT down in Florida, and you have just as many incredible women in the NXT women's division. But right now, Summer Rae is in a position where she should be wrestling all the time, and if not the Divas champion, she should be a top contender for the Divas Championship, because I think the Divas division is in dire need of trying to get away from promoting reality television all the time. It's been that kind of thing for the Divas division ever since at least June or July of this year. It's always been about Total Divas and promoting that show. So at least if you bring Summer Rae into the WWE Divas division on Raw and SmackDown and have her competing every week, that'll open the door for new feuds. That'll close the door possibly on reality television and get the Divas division back to the way it was probably in 2002, 2003, where the Divas division was about distributing good wrestling matches. This is good wrestling matches as storylines and promos that they would cut. I mean, I was tired of seeing the same kind of thing back in the 90s, bikini contests, arm wrestling contests. And in 2001, 2002, the women's division in the WWE were termed Divas, and they started giving us great women's wrestling matches between the likes of Trish and Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler, and people like Jazz who came over from ECW. You had a tremendous amount of diversity, and I think you can have that same amount of diversity with how many marketable divas that you have in the Divas division. All different kinds of divas that have so many different kinds of qualities. You can have that same amount of diversity. It's just about how you book your Divas Championship matches, how you distribute the matches for the title on pay-per-view, which is a huge plus the Divas division has going for it now. You don't see as many Divas Championship matches on editions of Raw and SmackDown as you probably did 5 years ago. The good thing is we're seeing a series of matches between Brie Bella and AJ on pay-per-views. Recently at Battleground, we're going to be seeing it again at Hell in a Cell. Really looking forward to the pending results of this match between AJ and Brie Bella, the rematch from Battleground within the same month happening at Hell in a Cell. Really looking forward to finding out if Brie Bella can once again regain the Divas Championship. I hope that she doesn't, because if AJ continues her reign as Divas Champion, that'll give Summer Rae more of a reason to come in and challenge AJ of the Divas Championship and put her fan responses to the test. Obviously, she'd be an overwhelming fan favorite by the responses that she gets as the valet for Fandango, Mrs. Fandango, in the words of JBL and Jerry the King Lawler. And I think that with how big of a response that she receives, a bigger response than Fandango, why not put her up against AJ as a fan favorite? That would do the Divas division an incredible amount of justice, and most of all, it would give us this reprieve that we've been kind of wanting for the Divas division as wrestling fans. One thing that I will never deny is that I've always been a fan, somewhat of a consistent habit that's developed for me over the past number of years, probably for the last 5 or 6. I've always been a huge fan of the Divas division, and if there's one primary reason why I watch Raw and SmackDown every week, it's to keep up with what's happening in the Divas division. One question that I always ask in the conversation about wrestling is who's the Divas Champion and who is the feud currently involving for the Divas Championship within the division. Is it so much about reality television as much as it was 3 or 4 months ago? If they say yes, it's so much about reality television, I immediately get turned off. But once you start talking about competitive wrestling and who is on top as a contender and who is your current Divas Champion, I can literally talk for hours about the Divas division. I think if we were writing more about the Divas division or talking about it more on our radio shows as radio show hosts and columnists, the Divas division will get more in-ring time and get more distribution and be distributed more effectively, most importantly here in 2013, because that's what it needs to get to the same level of the TNA Knockouts division. One thing the TNA Knockouts division has going for it every Thursday on Impact and pay-per-views and the monthly series they have now, which is called One Night Only on pay-per-view, is the fact that we have good matches all the time for the TNA Knockouts, and sometimes in additions of Impact we're seeing the Knockouts involved 1 to 2 matches on television, and we're also seeing the Knockouts always involved in storylines. That's a huge plus the Knockouts division has over Ring of Honor and the WWE, and until the WWE Divas division gets to that level, where we're seeing them involved in probably more than just one match every week on Raw and SmackDown and more storylines involving Divas, I'm always going to prefer the TNA Knockouts division over the Divas division. That's not saying that I don't follow it because it's not as creative as the TNA Knockouts division, but the thing is, they need to get to that same level if they ever want to be taken seriously and not made fun of as much and mocked as much by talents like TNA have and of course Ring of Honor. So they do need to get to that level, and I think AJ and Summer Rae giving us a match for the Divas Championship will be a great way of doing it. Now, I've talked about Summer Rae a lot on this YouTube channel. All you have to do is browse through our archives and you'll find many videos that have brought up Summer Rae as a topic and something to discuss, and this video can be included in that series. I'm really impressed all in all with Summer Rae, and I think she has the best years of her career not only to be witnessed by wrestling fans but her herself. If she continues to be a consummate performer, which is really the only way you can describe Summer Rae when you talk about a successful diva and a successful character in the way that she's been distributed, I think that she's got a lot of great years ahead for her when you talk about a wrestling career. She just needs to get away from Fandango and start wrestling all the time. Said this about AJ last year, saying it about Summer Rae this year, only in a matter of time. I think it's really only a matter of time before Summer Rae is eventually a future Divas champion, and that will do wonders for the Divas division in years to come. Well, what do you think? What is your opinion of Summer Rae? Are you enjoying seeing her as a Fandango girl, Mrs. Fandango, or preferably would you rather see her as a wrestler all the time every week on Raw and SmackDown, either in top contention for the Divas Championship or as the actual Divas Champion, being given the same amount of time as Divas Champion as what AJ is currently being given? We're up to the 4-month mark now, 4.5 months for AJ as Divas Champion. Are you wanting a reprieve? Are you wanting someone like Summer Rae to kind of come in out of nowhere and take that title from her? Is it Brie Bella? Is it AJ? Is it someone like Beth Phoenix to somehow come out of nowhere and win the Divas Championship back after not having it for a number of months? What do you want to see? Let us know on Facebook at facebook.com/HW Entertainment. Let us know by following us on Twitter at JonathanClarke1, and let us know by watching us on YouTube at youtube.com/JonathanClarke22. Very impressive statistics for our social media networks. On Facebook, over 1,000 subscribers. On Twitter, 18,000 tweets. And on YouTube, over 20,000 channel views. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like any of our videos. And coming up after the break, I've got Paramore and So Into You.
When something takes place in the world of professional wrestling, you know where to go. WrestleZone.com. WrestleZone.com. Covering all the latest breaking news daily. Interactive forums where you can chat with thousands of other wrestling fans. Exclusive editorials and audio features by some of today's top wrestling superstars. Exclusive video content, weekly polls, live play-by-play coverage of every WWE and TNA pay-per-view. And now, featuring WrestleZone Radio, live with news, in-depth discussions, debates, and interviews with wrestling